Okay, we're going to give a couple people a little while to join, but welcome to Decisions Daily Lunch and Learn. As you can see the slide, we're we're promoting Decisions Days. So if you need any more information about that, feel free to reach out to us. We have some links that will point you in the right direction of where you can get more information. But yeah, we'll give everyone else a couple more minutes. But feel free to put any questions in the questions, and we can go ahead and get started in a few.
I think we're good to start, Josh.
Yeah, sure. So the format is you guys can ask any questions you guys want, and we will also answer any questions we want. We will answer any questions you guys have in the order in which they were submitted. And if there is no questions, we'll just open up our local host, build something, and just kind of talk about it while we're building it. If anyone has any questions, looks like we got a hand raised. Hey, how can I help you?
Hi, I have one question. So when we build a flow, let's say I define a bunch of variables to hold some data, and let's say I have 20 different steps I have in the flow, and I'm renaming one of the variable, and let's say that variable is used in 6 different spots, right? So the moment I touch that variable and rename it, it breaks all 6 steps in the flow. Is there a way to automatically update behind the scene rather than me changing in all 6 parts manually?
No, not currently. It is a manual process. Once you change a variable name, your steps no longer, are looking for that variable name. There's no good way to kind of have it, look for a different name.
I know, but yeah,
So,
I mean, is that something you have in the roadmap that can be added as a feature request?
That's something we can definitely chalk up to a feature request. Sabrina, if you want to write that down for us, we can submit a feature request after this and keep you updated. So.
Yeah, you know what I mean, it cuts down the productivity a lot, and it also introduces new bugs, right? Let's say fat fingering and many things. For example, right? So if I'm assign, let's say in those 6 steps where the variable is referenced, let's say you have a big blob of SQL statement, right? So now the moment I rename it, the whole SQL statement is gone, right? So that means I have to bring it back from the old or some other place. And then there's a high chance of making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, agreed. And it's also just kind of annoying. Yeah, it's just kind of annoying to change one thing and then have the rest of your flow not respected anymore. So
exactly. Yeah. Okay. All right. Just checking. I thought I didn't know there is a feature that I could use, but okay.
No, when we put steps in, we're we're essentially putting chunks of code into other code, right? And we're just making the values that it needs. We're mapping them one-to-one with the value that we've already established. As soon as we changed what we already established, that that function no longer has anything to grip onto. So you do have to go back and kind of change it and remap things, and that can be annoying. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can put into, have you used the Data Explorer to figure out all the steps that are using a specific field?
Yes, I do use that. And sometimes, it is easier to use right within the steps rather than using that Explorer.
Well, the Data Explorer will give you any kind. So if you open up the Data Explorer, you can
Yeah,
see.
I know. When you
yeah.
highlight it, it kind of gives a little, the wiki.
It just tells
circle,
what's
right?
touching it. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good way to at least kind of identify. All right, what's the cost going to be of me changing these, depending on how many steps it's been, it's touching. So
that's right. The moment I rename it, then all those 6 steps becomes a red, right? So that's how I know that I have to change those steps.
Yeah. Are you renaming it for a specific purpose, or kind of like, oh, I didn't like name it appropriately at the beginning?
Exactly. I think the second one, right?
Yeah. Well, again, all these are, these names are just like, unless they're not shown anywhere, unless they're in the database or something. So if you rename something, that's kind of like your own conviction on whether you have to change it. It does help your code, it does make it cleaner, but again, if you don't have to, it might be worth it just not doing it.
Yeah, I know. During the development, you may want to name them correctly. Let's say in a cut and copy error, right? Sometimes that's the only reason why I would rename them later on.
True.
Okay, I have one follow-up question from this one. Let's say there is a structure, data structure. I make a change. Let's say I add 2 new elements to the data structure, and let's say that data structure is referenced in 20 different spots, right? And so, when I try to hit save from the data structure definition, it gives me a warning. Hey, there are 16 different dependencies, etc. Right? But it doesn't tell me exactly those 16 flows, right? So then it's my own job to find out those items and manually update them, right?
Yes, that is correct. It does not show you the flows that will be altered due to your change. So impact, But have you used the dependency browser?
Yeah, I've used that a lot. Yeah, correct. And also one other thing is that, so let's say, you are inside a designer folder, and let's say you have 30 different items in that folder. And I want to know if any of the flows have any bugs, right? There's no way I can see it holistically. I have to open one by one. Oh, there is the 6th step here having the red. Now maybe the mapping got missed out, or maybe a new element got added to the data structure and it is not mapped in the flow, right? So I wish there is a little icon that shows a red or a green next to each of the flows saying that there are no compilation errors or whatever. So now, to go one by one, it's so much of extra work.
Yeah, I know, and that does make sense. What I think happens is if you have a flow that has an error in it, it is marked as invalid. And you can see it kind of over there off to the side. Have you seen that before?
No, okay, can you show me that?
Yeah. Drew, do you mind pulling up your local host?
Yep.
Okay, let's see, and let's create a flow and just make it have an issue. I guess unhook the branch for each step if you don't mind. And then let's close and save. And let's click on that flow you were just looking at. Properties enabled invalid. I feel like invalid. State equals invalid.
Okay.
If you click on the gear off to the side over there, Andrew.
Gotcha.
And hit the pen. And then you can let's add a data field of state. State in here. Oh, I guess not. Okay, so I think that'd be good to add that to the available options here on this report, just to see the state of what your flow is in, and then then you can tell whether or not it's invalid or good. So that'd probably be good for us to put in a feature request to add that. And then you can feel free to just add it to any kind of folder you want. If you want to check to
Sure.
see what elements are invalid versus valid, then you can do that.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
that would be helpful. I
Okay.
think that's a good feature request there. Any like time you have like this designer folder that you have a bunch of elements in,
Mhm.
you can always create your own page for this.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a, like a coat of paint you're putting on top of the thing, and you can make it look however you want to. What I'd recommend maybe if you need something like that, put it in here, build it as like a smaller project, and then every time you have a folder that you want to do that on, just add page to folder, and that'll, kind of, you can customize that as much as you want. You can show all of your elements, and maybe in that report, reach out, grab the state, then make the state have an exclamation point, make the other ones have a checkbox for good. Like that's the kind of stuff. You can put a fresh coat of paint on anything that we have.
Okay. Do you mind showing that real quick, if that's easy?
Showing what?
The one you just described, within creating a page, a custom page.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
yeah, go ahead.
go down to create form manager. Let's go ahead and just create a page. Yeah, just default. You can name it however you want. Page one's fine. Yeah. Cool. And then just put a label on here that says Andrew test, and then let's go ahead and put a report viewer as well. Just put it at the bottom or something. Yeah, that's fine. And let's go ahead and hit create on this. Okay, cool. Now in the in data sources, add text merge, or add I guess document's fine. And of course, you'd probably want to do document data source. Yeah, that's fine. And then just add a field, add the name, I guess. Entity name. Yep. Cool. And then let's go to filters, and let's add a filter for the current folder. So in folders for current folder. And so now what we've done is we've made a custom report that is looking in the folder that it is present on, that you are looking at. And we're checking to see if there are any document types in that current folder and presenting the entity name and the state. So for your purposes, you probably want to almost copy the designer folder page report, right? Where you have like designer elements, and you have like the state, and you have the name and everything else, who was created by, modified by, and stuff like that. You would just want to put your own filter state, right? Or your own field. So and then you can kind of customize it however you want, but that for current filter, or for current folder filter, that's a big thing to say. That's going to be your key here, right? That's only going to show anything that's in the current folder. So let's close and save this, and right click on the folder that you're looking at here. Let's just, close and save. And then, right click on FIS. Manage page dashboard. Add page dashboard, and then pick our page one. Perfect. Okay. So you'll see up at the top, it'll give you that page one dashboard. And you can make this the default if you want. If you want to kind of make your coat of paint better. Let's go into the folder view. And I'm not sure if you have a file that you want to add as a document here, Andrew, if you have a random one in your file folder, but let's kind of show that for folders. Can you just drag something out there, and instead of importing it, make it a document?
CSV.
Yeah, just anything. Just add as document. Cool. So now let's go back to our page one. You should see our document, right? So that's going to
Gotcha.
show you any documents that's in the current folder. And so sometimes we use these, to put a fresh coat of paint on things. If like maybe people don't like the way these look, maybe people want to put guardrails around designer folders. If you were to create your own page that you would say looks better than ours, you can feel free to just, tack it on with any page you want, any folder you have stuff in. So
Okay.
that's just a way you can kind of add your coat of paint to whatever you want. Make it personal, if whatever is important to you, show it in that page. So is that helpful?
Yeah, it is. Okay. But are you going to still include the state into this default view?
Yeah, we're going to still put in that, that
Perfect.
feature request for you. Sabrina, if you don't mind writing that down, and then we can get that afterwards. So
Thank you.
cool.
All right.
Thanks for, thanks for your questions, man. Those are really good. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Bye.
Cool. Fernanda, I think we had a question come in from you regarding assignments. A pre-submitted question. Okay, perfect. And I'll let Andrew talk about that one. We discussed it a little while ago. So.
Yep. So we got your email, we got the question, and it looks like you have a process where we're creating a list or we're fetching a list, and we need it to do like a for each to create assignments for each one of those items in the list, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the issue that you're running into right now is that when you're using a for each and making your subflow for the assignment, either async isn't working. And then when you go synchronous, you have to wait for each one of those, I guess, items in that list to complete the assignment to continue, right?
Right.
So kind of just got in here. The one step that you want to use for this process, or you're going to want to use, is a branch for each step. So I guess this also depends on sort of your use case for this. But what you could do with the branch for each is it's very similar to the for each step, but this is turning anything inside of this, I guess, this loop asynchronous. So your application or your assignments will get created for each one of those items in that list. And then really the one point that we need to mention is that this will, I guess, stop the process until all of the assignments are completed that are created in that list. Is that what you're trying to do? Is this like sort of like a approval layer where, everyone from this management group gets an assignment to approve something, and this process doesn't go forward until all of those members have done some type of decision on it?
Not exactly approve it, but just get the task done.
Okay.
Okay. But
Yep.
but is it the branch for each? Is it similar to the for each?
Yes, it is. So when I click on this, what you'll have access to is a collection. So it's expecting a list of something once you identify the type. What you're outputted is your item. So what it will do is, just like the for each, for every item in that list, it will go through the process, and then you can have your subflow for creating the assignment for each one of those items. And then what we're going to want to have at the end of this loop is a merge step. And this is really what's bringing everything together. So we have 5 assignments. Those 5 assignments get created. One gets finished. So we're not continuing the process yet until, the other 4 have been completed. Those will meet up at this step once we've figured out that everything is completed, and then move forward.
The term that's typically used for this kind of behavior is called parallel processing. So you want to run all these processes in parallel with each other. All of them can't finish this whole process can't finish unless all of them can finish. So that's what it's going to let you do. It's going to allow you to, send off multiple assignments to an array of people and then not let this process move on until all of them have completed their, step in the process. It's not going to use different threads though. It's going to kind of simulate those threads. So, but it's going to help you use parallel processing.
Okay, and the merge step should be after I create the task, or not?
The merge step, yeah, the merge step should be
Yes.
after the task. So this branch for each is going to fire off, let's say it fires off 5, one person finishes, it's going to go to that merge step and it's going to wait for the other 5 to finish. And then once all of them have finished, then it's going to move on past that merge step. You can also, with that merge step, if you need to cancel the merge midway through, if you look at that merge step right there, let's click on it.
Yep.
You can, there's an option to cancel the merge, and it can cancel pending forms, and you can give a cancel like reason. Let's say you shot off 5 assignments, but you want it, if the one person rejects it, we want the whole process to end. That's how you can kind of manage that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I'll give that a try.
Cool. And yeah, send in a support ticket if you need any more help. We'll happily walk you through that example.
Sure.
We try to encapsulate everything you're trying to do between the branch for each and the merge into a subflow, and that's gonna get you the ideal behavior you're looking for. So
great. That's perfect. Thank you.
cool.
Yep.
See, we don't have any more questions. Does anyone have anything? Have any questions they're pondering or looking to solve?
Again, for the new people that just hopped on, we are having a decisions day week. So on October 4th to the 6th, we are going to have a few meetings with everyone from the decisions team, and a lot of our clients are coming in. We do have a sign up for this, so if you guys are local or planning on coming to Virginia, we are having some activities during that week.
Fernanda, you have another question?
Yes, I wasn't sure if you have the time.
Oh, go for it.
Okay, so I have, in the same process, I have one issue. I have like 50 kinds of forms, different forms. So I didn't create just one and put rules to show fields and hide fields. So I have a rule that I check if the service is 1 or 2 or 3, and then I show this form, the form for the service 1 or the form for the service 2. And I'm not sure how I would use just one rule to check and distribute these forms. I am using now several rules, like check if service is 1, if it is show form 1, if it's not, check if it's service 2, if it is show form 2, Is there another way for me to do this by not using many
Absolutely.
rules?
The step you're looking for is called a string match step. If you go ahead and pull that up, Andrew, we can look at that step. What it does is allows you to kind of hard code a couple things, like if it's string 1, string 2, string 3, it gives you those options and allows you to have an output for each one of those options. So, and it'll just go down the route of whichever one it equals. So it's kind of like a string equals.
Yep.
You provide it with a bunch of options, and it'll give you an outcome for each one of those. So.
Oh, perfect. So I don't use a rule, I just use this step.
You can use just this step. That's fine. But another, like just a word of caution there, you do have to hard code the options into this step. So, I mean, if you're fine with that, that's completely okay. But yeah. Another
thing to, another caution is, say you have A, B, C, D, and you're looking for B. If you happen to have a space in here for B, it's going to look for that space, I believe, in the match as well.
It will, yeah.
Okay.
Have you heard of
string match?
Yeah, it's a string match step. So it'll just take in a string and match it with the options that you provide.
Okay.
There's another option here you can look into. Have you heard of runtime selection?
No.
Okay, let's pull up a truth table, if you don't mind. And this
Heading
might
that way.
take some playing around with, and you could, if you need more understanding, submit a support ticket again. You can CC me or Andrew, and we'd love to talk to you about this. We've used this on several projects, but essentially runtime selection is you don't know what path you want to go down at design time, but you're going to know at runtime based off of criteria, right? So any type of, I want to say almost any designer could be called at runtime selection. So essentially you pick a default flow and you can give it a flow ID to run at the end of it. Or, let's say you're using a truth table, you want to check like more criteria than just a string match step. You can use this truth table to determine which flow to run, and then have the flow respect the ID that was output from the truth table. But we'll kind of walk you through an example right here. And I'm going to pull up an example and where I've used this in a project really quick too. So give me 1 second. I'll pull that up after we get this one set up. Keep in mind, this will only work if your form has the same inputs and the same outputs. So if you have if you're doing different outcomes from the form, but it looks a little different, but you can use this runtime selection. But a good way to get around that is by using a flow and having the form on the inside. You can source the flow at runtime as well. So yeah, so when you switch it to runtime selection, it's going to ask you for a target ID, and that ID is going to be the ID of the form or the component you want to use.
So this is just as a quick example, what we created was a truth table and a form connected to that truth table. What this truth table is taking in what you would probably use as your variables for the conditions that you want to analyze for which form it would go to. Inside of the truth table, for example, we're taking in 2 variables. Our first guess condition would be variable 1 equals something. Second condition is variable 2 equals something. So if we were to input in, A for variable 1 and B for variable 2, this would then output a GUID. So this is just, the GUID would be something like what we would see, in our URL for our folder IDs. And this is what pairs it to the actual form that you want to show. So this would be the form ID as our option here. And if those conditions hit this row, it would output this GUID. And then outside of this, the form, we could have a condition for having runtime select enabled. And then what this would do is take in the resulting truth table result for the form that we want to display. But just like what Josh was saying, in terms of using this straight into a form, you will have to have your inputs, I guess, identical for each different type of form that we want to have in this runtime select.
But if I have different forms, wouldn't I have different inputs?
Yes, that's why the subflow could be valuable for you. Like you hit a flow that doesn't have the same, that has the same inputs, but for your case, right, it's just a submission, so they wouldn't have as many inputs. But then you can essentially map the outputs to be the same as well. So I can show you an example of this really quick and how I've found it effective. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I use this in this project for managing my email templates. Essentially, what I will do is in this send email flow, I will take in two distinct things, or actually a couple of distinct things in this flow. I'll take in, let's see, I'll take in the to, which is a list of strings. I'll take in my variables. I'll take in the email template name and any attachments that I could potentially be sending as an email. What I'll do in this flow is I'm actually fetching the ID of the flow given the name of the flow that I presented it with. And then what it'll do is it'll run this flow runtime selection. Since I only need the variables, it just takes in the ID of what the flow I needed to run and output the body and subject. So in a different area in my project, I maintain these email template flows. Over here, I have 4 of them. They all will take in the same inputs, and they'll output the same thing, body and string. But in here, I can configure my body and subject of my emails, and it can just make it a little bit easier to compact everything together. That way, if I ever want to send an email, I just use this send email flow and just plop it in there, give it the name of the flow I want to use, give it the variables that I could potentially use for this send email, give it who it's from, and give it files, and I can drop that in 50 different places in my flow and kind of organize my email templates, if that makes sense. Does that help?
Sort of.
It's a little bit high level. So yeah, I know sometimes it can get complicated.
Yeah, I think I'll try the string match step.
Yeah, try the string match. If you need something more complex, or you're trying to maybe organize your flow a little bit better, maybe try runtime select. But if you don't need it, you don't have to use it.
Yeah, we'll definitely watch this record after and try to build both and see which one's
Sounds good.
better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I was just going to post our runtime select doc in there for you, just if you want to review it.
Perfect. Okay. Does anyone else have anything they want to talk about? Any kind of discussion points or anything? If not, we can go ahead and just end this early. Give you guys a little bit back of your lunch. So. All right. No one else. We'll go ahead and end this. Thank you for coming for the Decisions Lunch and Learn. Feel free to submit a support ticket if you need anything. Reach out to us personally. We'd love to talk about use cases and help you in any way we can. Thank you.